Hello everybody and welcome to the list video here at Playing Board Games. Today I'm talking about 10 game changers from the Innsmouth Conspiracy expansion. The player card expansion is finally coming out sometime in the near future, and I'm here to talk about 10 cards, 2 from each class, that are going to probably move the needle in your collection. So these aren't necessarily the strongest cards, albeit some of them are actually probably some of the strongest cards you're going to play in ARKHAM, especially a few of these level 0 ones we're going to be talking about. But these are cards that are here that are going to just be consistently finding their spot in a good chunk of your decks. I will say, if you watch the Dream Eaters one, this was actually a little bit harder for Innsmouth Conspiracy. Innsmouth Conspiracy introduces the Bless and Curse tokens. Bless tokens, when you draw it, you get +2 and you draw another token. Curse, the opposite. You get -2 when you draw it and then you draw another token. Because of this, they're exploring the new mechanic and they're kind of just... it's eating up a lot of the design space for this. So a lot of cards are working with them. So it's not kind of the same where some of these may look a little bit strange. But they do have reasons for being on this list and why I think they're game changers. So we're going to talk about them all here. But why don't we dive into our first one, which is the Guardian card, Holy Rosary 2. So this is the level 2 version of the Mystic card Holy Rosary. So we have a cross-class upgrade, which is really neat. 2 cost, 2 experience, takes up the necklace slot, soaks for 2 horror. Item, charm, blessed. You get +1 brain. This is all sounding very like the level 0 version. However, after you succeed at a brain test on a treachery, exhaust Holy Rosary, add 2 blessed tokens to the chaos bag. So, I have this one here for one of the biggest game changers is because it's just a very easy card that you're going to actually find yourself putting into a good chunk of your Guardian decks just in the future. I have played this card in Lily. I have played this card in Zoe. I have played this card in Leo. Mostly just because it's just like value on value. You get +1 brain. That's great. Those investigators I was just talking about, they all have 4, or, you know, you can turn it into higher, like into 4 with Lily Chen. You can also just, like, you want to not take as much horror, so that works really well for them. You also just passively get blessed tokens, which are just a treat for passing treacheries. Just now, every time you pass a treachery, it helps you get through this. This works on revelation effects for treacheries, like Rotting Remains, but this also works on other tests on treacheries, like, say, for example, I don't know, the test at the end of your turn on a Frozen in Fear. While this card was probably one of the easiest just consistent bless enablers, it is a little bit outclassed from the Ancestral token in Feast of Hemlock Vale. So while this is, I think, less of a thing, the new Ancestral token is, like, I think just a better version of this. I do think that this still is a card that you're going to find in, like, your more clue-focused Guardians. Like a Sister Mary can run this and just, like, you know, just passively just win the game while doing this. But also, like, if you are splashing into Guardian as a Mystic, I think the upgrade is also just a very nice thing, especially with the likes of Down the Rabbit Hole existing. So I do think that this is still a good card and a good game changer, even though it is a little bit outclassed from the Hemlock Vale. However, if you don't have Feast of Hemlock Vale, this still is going to do a lot of work. Next card we have here in the Guardian class is Enchant Weapon. So, this is a level 3, 3-cost spell upgrade attached to a weapon asset controlled by an investigator or location, limit 1 per asset. Attached asset gains the relic trait and takes up an arcane slot in addition to its other slots. As a reaction, when you perform a fight action using attached asset, exhaust this card. Add the owner of this card's brain to your fist for this attack. This attack deals +1 damage. This card, while it looks like it's like a combo piece, it actually just isn't. It's just something you can put in your deck to make somebody's weapon better. And when I say somebody's, I mean it doesn't have to be you. You can attach to any weapon asset controlled by any investigator, and wherever they are, as long as they don't, like, worry about their arcane slots, they get a +4, +5, +3, +2, you know, depending on who you are, to their attack, but it also deals +1 damage. So, like, now, each turn, they have one attack that deals +2 damage, meaning that they can deal 3 damage in one attack, which is really nice. This is something that, as I said, while it may look like this is like a combo piece or something you're not going to put into your deck unless you're planning on taking advantage of it, you'd be surprised just as you're flipping through your collection, looking at your upgrades, you're going into scenario 4, scenario 5, you got your game plan all sorted and you're like, I just want to get value on top of my value. And that's where Enchant Weapon can really just have a very nice home in your deck. You're just like, I just need one of them, and I'm just going to put it in my deck just because. This is something that I think that actually is just going to happen more than you think. This is a card that Eric pulled out in their first Guardian deck just because, like, the card doesn't ask a lot. It's just 3 resources, which notably, I mean, is not 0, but it's still just, like, you get it out, you put it when you can, and then just whoever is swinging the weapon starts doing really good. The thing that makes this really nice is that it doesn't have to be your weapon. Just remember that. You can put it in even if you're a support Guardian or if, like, you're, you know, Carolyn Fern, and you can just, like, put some stuff out there. It's a very nice card, and you're gonna play it more consistently than you think. On to our Seeker card here. We got Deep Knowledge. So this is the first of the curse cards. The 3 curse cards from the Innsmouth Conspiracy, which absolutely rocked the game. 0 cost event. It's an insight and a curse. Additional cost to play Deep Knowledge. Add 2 curse tokens to the Chaos bag. We call these curse cards because they add curse tokens in as an additional cost. Investigators at your location draw a combined total of 3 cards, and you decide how many cards each investigator draws. This is probably a card that Travis plays in, like, each of his decks. If he can, he just puts this in at the very least at level 0. The curse tokens, as long as, like, not everyone is, like, putting in a million curse tokens, you're not going to notice the curse tokens from this card. You might, but it's very unlikely you would, which means that the downside of this card doesn't actually really feel like too much of a downside. The drawing a combined total of 3 cards is very powerful, and while someone personally like me, if I'm looking at my own card draw, I prefer to have my card draw be more active. This is still a very powerful effect because you can divvy out the cards as you see fit. If you don't mind spending an action to draw 3 cards, this is very good at doing that. Like, it's the best at doing this because it is just a 0 cost event. Don't eat anything, you just got to put 2 curse tokens in. If you have cards in your hand, but someone else is missing something, like say your Guardian needs to replace their gun, you just give them 3 cards and help them, you know, get through that. And it works really well as like a teamwork card as well. Very good card, very good card. You're going to play it a lot. Don't be scared of curse tokens. That's the thing I just got to pass on. Don't be scared of curse tokens on this card. Don't worry about it. And luckily, if you are scared, there's some solutions to that in the form of covenants in the Seeker and Rogue class in this cycle. All right, our next Rogue card here is Stirring Up Trouble. Sorry, our next Seeker card here is Stirring Up Trouble. Whoopsie! So this is a 0 cost, 1 experience event. As an additional cost to play Stirring Up Trouble, add curse tokens to the Chaos bag equal to your location's Shroud value. You can discover 2 clues at your location. So admittedly, I had a hard time finding like a second card for some of these classes because once again, it's like a package of cards in Innsmouth. It's a very parasitic cycle where a lot of the payoffs kind of just require you to play the cards in that cycle that come with it. So there's kind of like that issue with it. However, Stirring Up Trouble I think is just a good Seeker card that you're going to play just because. Even if you're not in a curse deck, like I play this in pretty much all of my Luke Robinson decks, even if I'm not a curse deck. 0 cost, 1 experience. Oh, no, I already read the card. I already read the card. Let's slow down a little bit. I already read the card. What this guy does is it just gives you 2 clues. Look at Drawn to the Flame. Drawing an encounter card is really nice because, like, you know, it's really bad, but it's a really nice cost for just grabbing 2 clues. But sometimes you just don't want to draw an encounter card. So what if we just turn that encounter card into curse tokens, and then those curse tokens will just eventually just dribble their way out. You usually use this on a 3 or 4 shroud location. I've used this on a 2 shroud location just to like save on actions. You don't need to worry about getting the most value out of this card because the value out of this card is just the 2 actions, the 1 action, the 2 tests that you saved by playing it. Again, I think this card's just like really good, and it's going to be a nice little addition to your collection. All right, on to the Rogue cards, and probably, I mean, let's see if I put this one first. I did. Probably the strongest card, if not the second strongest, just general flat card in this cycle is Faustian Bargain. This is a 0 cost event. It's a pact and it's cursed. As additional cost to play Faustian Bargain, add 2 curse tokens to the Chaos bag. Investigate your location, gain a total of 5 resources distributed as you wish. Yes, you have heard that right. This is just 5 resources for the cost of 2 curse tokens. And luckily in Rogue, where a lot of your building around is just making your number very big for a test, with the likes of like lockpicks and stuff like that, or like the next card we're about to see. It's very easy to just like have those curse tokens not matter, right? You get like a -2 into a -1, and you get a total of -3, and then you've already basically paid off you've already paid off the downside of 2.5 of the resources that you got out of this card. This is a very powerful card. I think you generally need to find a reason not to play it as opposed to play it, because like it's just so damn good. Every Rogue deck starts with like pretty much 2 copies of this glued in, because just like 5 resources is so much. That is your starting value of resources. And not to mention that you can also distribute them as you wish. You can just like, like Deep Knowledge, you can divvy them out to support as needed. Very powerful card. Very, very powerful card. And honestly, I think you're going to love what this is going to do for your Rogue economy. There's all their other options. Like there's some new stuff that's been coming out in like Hemlock Vale, like the recent expansion, that's going to like also give you a boost to this. But Faustian Bargain just, in my opinion, can't be beat. Like I said, you have to find a reason not to play it. And sometimes my reason not to play it is just because I'm trying to be more active in my economy as opposed to like, action-based economy. But still, it's very good. It's very good. Next up here is also another good Rogue card. This is Breaking and Entering. This card's fantastic. You're going to play this in a good majority of your Rogue decks going forward. It's just like a staple that's going to live in your Rogue decks if you have High Book and High Foot. It's a 2-cost event. It's a trick. So Rita Young can also play it. Rita Young can also play it. Investigate. She's very good at playing it. Investigate. Add your foot value to your skill value for this investigation. If you succeeded by 2 or more, you may automatically evade an enemy at this location. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. Notably, you don't need to be engaged with the enemy. You can just do this when like your guardian or like there's a boss enemy at your location and you're like, this massive enemy is here. Worry not. I am breaking and entering. I'm going to just open the window, crawl in, and then suddenly the boss is like, I'm lying down. I'm a little bit hungry. Where is everyone? I'm just gonna like let my stomach settle. It's a very powerful card. 2 resources is like practically nothing for an effect like this. It's you get a clue, you get to automatically evade an enemy. It's very good. Just very. I don't even know like how much more to say it. Works really well with the investigator in this box, Trish Scarborough. She loves breaking and entering. She loves it. She loves it. As I said, Rita Young loves it. Kaimani loves it. Kaimani from Scarlet Keys. Winifred Habermuck also loves it. Finn Edwards loves it. Yeah, so like just like a lot of rogues love the hell out of this card. If you have a high foot and just like if they add up to 8, you're in a good place. And it's one of those cards that again, if someone plays it, you're just like, oh, thank God you have that card. You love breaking and entering. Even if somebody else is there. It allows like the rogue clover to go out on their own, and then they don't need to spend time evading. They can also just advance the game. They can do like active enemy management, which is really nice. Okay, on to our Mystic cards. And we have another really strong card here. At least I assume I put it first. I did. Okay, this is Promise of Power. This card is insanely good, and it's going to just change your collection going forward. Now that you like, as soon as you buy this cycle and you pull out Promise of Power, you're going to look at this card and you're going to be like, damn, this MFer is going to be in every one of my decks going forward. It's just really good at what it does. Promise of Power is this level 0 skill, commits for 4 wilds. Yes, 4 wilds. It's practiced and it's cursed. After you commit Promise of Power to a skill test, add 1 curse token to the Chaos Bag. If you cannot, take 2 Horror instead. Notably, I have only seen the take 2 Horror instead happen once, and that's when I was playing with an Amanda Sharp, because she can play this card, it is practiced. However, most of the time, this just doesn't have a downside, right? 4 icons is a lot. 4 icons, pretty much means you're going to pass the test. If you're playing on standard, unless you draw the curse token that you put into this curse token into an uncursed cup, you're going to pass the test unless you draw the autofill as well, which is always there, right? Like if you're testing even. Like let's just say, for example, you're 3-3 against a Rotting Remains. You commit this, or like someone, it's also a skill, so you can also give it to someone else. They are 3-3 against a Rotting Remains. This means that they're very likely going to pass that test without any sort of problems. You can hone in on that curse token and just think about how much that actually is going to modify the game. But it really actually isn't. It's an activity that I've actually been doing where I keep track of curse tokens when they cause me to fail and bless tokens when they cause me to pass. And both of those things are actually pretty much close. But the reality is that there's also this big bar in the middle of my bar graph that just says it doesn't matter. They don't affect it. So it's really not a problem. Don't be scared of it. This card is very powerful and you want to be using its ability. On to our next Mystic card. We got Sword Cane. This is an asset, takes up a hand slot. It's an item, relic, weapon, melee. It's level 0, it costs 2. It does not provoke attacks of opportunity when you play it, and as a reaction after it enters play, immediately trigger its action ability without paying its cost. As an action, you can also exhaust Sword Cane to fight or evade. You may use your brain in place of your fist or foot for this attack or evasion attempt. So notably, just a little rules thing, when you play this card, you pay it without triggering its cost. Cost is everything before the colon, which means that when you play this card, it does not cost the action or the exhaust. Just some things to help make you see some more value in this card that you might not be seeing if you're not aware with how the game rules work in terms of costs. This card is here as a game changer just because it gives you, as a Mystic, a way to deal with problems that might show up without having to spend charges. One of the big problems with Mystics is that they fight, for example, a Ghoul, a 2/2/2 minion. I mean, even let's go a bit bigger. They fight like a 4/2/3 minion. So 4 attack, 2 health, 3 evade. The same as they fight a Swarm of Rats, a 1/1/1 Mystic. Because if you're a Mystic fighting with your 5 brain and you have 2 fists, you're more likely to just look at that Rats and be like, I'm only up 1. I'm going to have to commit some stuff to this, but I don't want to spend a shriveling charge. And charges in Mystics are very important to keep full or have a replacement for it. So anytime you have to use a kill spell or an evade spell on something that, you know, you would rather like not, that's where Sword Cane comes in, because it now fills that gap of having to spend one of those charges, and you can just instead whack it. Hit him with your Sword Cane, just tunk. Hey, you swarm a rat, tunk. Now you're done, right? Hey, cultist, trip it, whoo-hoo. Hey, acolyte, tunk, right? Like, that's the big thing, is like, you would rather spend a shriveling charge, as an example, on a Wizard of the Order than you would on an acolyte. So that's where Sword Cane comes in, and it helps you kind of like solve the acolyte problem. Well, I think this card is not going to be in every Mystic deck. You are going to find yourself going to it a lot, and there's going to be a lot of Mystics that really enjoy playing with it. Dexter Drake from the expansion is obviously notably one of them. All right, before we get to the Survivor cards, I just want to say that the Survivor pool in this cycle is kind of not great. I had a hard time picking out 2 notable game changers from this. I think there are good cards in this expansion, but they're kind of part of a full package, as opposed to just being generally good. Actually, one of my examples as a game changer, I'm specifically going to be talking about an archetype. So the Survivor ones, I'm just going to say, are a little bit less enticing than some of the cards we've seen already. First one we got here is Ancient Covenant. So this is the archetype one that I was talking about. This is a 2 experience permanent, Covenant, and Blessed. Limit 1 Covenant per deck. As a reaction, when Investigator location resolves a Blessed token during a skill test, exhausts Ancient Covenant, do not reveal another token as part of that Blessed token's effect. So this means that your Blessed tokens now just say, stop. You've passed. +2. They just turn them into +2 tokens. Notably, if you are playing with the taboo list, this card now only affects yourself. It does not affect other people, but that doesn't, I think, change the card too much, because most of the time, if you're using this, you want to be doing it on yourself. I have this one here as a game changer. Again, because I think the survivors are a little bit lacking in some departments in this one in terms of just like general power level. But this card is something that you are going to be able to find yourself playing in a good majority of survivor decks, building around this card. I think this is the covenant that has been the most impactful covenant. There are 4 other covenants. There's this Guardian one, which allows you to put blessed tokens back in during a test, and they don't count for the test. Blasphemous, which is the Seeker one, which you basically turn the curse into a +1, then put it back in after. It's curse mitigation. We have the Rogue one, which just ignores the curse token and removes it and draws a new token to replace it. And then we have the Paradoxical Covenant for Mystics, which is if you reveal a blessed and a curse token, stop, and you automatically succeed. While like the Paradoxical one is really good, especially with Hemlock Veil, Ancient Covenant I think was the covenant that had the most impact and was actually like an archetypical covenant that actually like warped deck building in a way that you could build around it. So you need to use some other things to it. Again, this is a little bit weird for a game changer, but I've played this card in Kelvin, Silas, Yorick, and these are all like decks that worked really well with Ancient Covenant and weren't janky at all. They were actually just like pretty damn legit at what they were trying to do. Water. Yeah, okay. That's on to our next one here. Our last card of the video, the last survivor one, which is we got Mariner's Compass. This is a 3-cost asset, takes up the hand slot as an action, exhaust Mariner's Compass, investigate. If you succeed and have no resources in your resource pool, discover 1 additional clue at your location. As a lightning bolt during an investigation using Mariner's Compass, spend 1 resource, you get +1 book for this skill test, limit 3 times per investigation. I have this one here as a game changer because I think it's back in Dunwich. We had the Fire Axe and Dark Horse, which was the start of the Dark Horse archetype. And since then, it kind of just like had a few small pieces, but nothing that actually like really boosted the archetype up into a little bit. But Mariner's Compass is another piece of that Dark Horse puzzle that allows you to be a bit more consistent in terms of your ability to have something to get rid of your resources for Dark Horse to get down to 0. But you also can use it to flex as survivors do to get clues out of it. Notably, I think this card also works really well just outside of Dark Horse. I've seen people and I've heard people play it in like Rex Murphy, like in Minty Fan, it's really nice. Just like in Daryl Simmons, it also can like go really hard. You don't need to use Dark Horse to like get the advantage out of this card. If your book's really high, it's just really good at that kind of thing. Notably as well, this card did receive an upgrade in Hemlock Veil. Same like actually the Dark Horse package was kind of just generally upgraded in Hemlock Veil. So Mariner's Compass got some extra juice there. But that would be our Survivor card. Again, I think the Survivor ones are like less impactful than some of the other ones we've seen here. I think that I think the problem is that Guardian and Survivor both lived as like the Blessed class. And those kind of received the weirdest tools because Blesses were valued so much differently than Curses were. The value of curse tokens were definitely understated to the impact you got out of them. So that's why like we see Deep Knowledge, Faustian Bargain, and Promise of Power do so well, and we don't really have an equivalent for that. Luckily, we did get some stuff in Hemlock Veil that made Blesses a little bit more exciting, but that's that. Those are 10 game changers for the Innsmouth Conspiracy. I hope you enjoy opening up that box and playing with the investigators and cards in them, and I hope you too enjoy playing Promise of Power until you are a withered old skeleton. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a good one, and as always, GG's.